Okay, YouTube, it is Saturday, March the 22nd. And guess what? We're going to try to get the Power Stroke series started back up here. Yeah, I'm finally getting back on it. After a long, harsh winter. Or winter. That's a Kentucky accent, sorry. But after a long, harsh winter, when I should have been out here with the heat cranked up working on it, I wasn't. I did a lot of firewood cutting and stuff too, so that's part of my excuse. The other excuse is it was just so darn cold I had trouble getting motivated. And I think that happens to a lot of people when you have an extremely bad winter. But anyway, let me show you what I've done. So I think, if I remember right, I don't remember what part number it was. Remember how I used to number it part 1, 2, 3, I think I made it up to 50 something, maybe, I don't know, 60. But the last time I think I did a video on this project was in June, back in the summer, and we did the inner fender wells. Remember when I welded those in? That's pretty much still like it was. I flipped the beds, all I've done since on that. But well, no, I've done more. I did work on the front panel some. Actually, I got the front panel ready for primer on the inside. It was in very bad shape. I know it looks like a lot of Bondo. That thing was warped beyond my metalworking skills of getting it perfect, so it's going to look pretty good under primer. Got as close as it's going to get without using primer. That I got the inner wheel tubs straightened out there. They need some finish work, need some primer sprayed on them, all the little pits filled. See, I need to do some finishing with some actual Bondo right there. I know it looks like a lot of Bondo, but it's not super thick. They were just so beat up and wavy that I had to completely cover the whole thing and beat down the high spots. And that was the only way to make it look decent. And I'm going to get it as close as I can to being good enough to actually paint. But remember, I'm using the Pour 15 bed liner on this. We're going to find out how good this stuff is. I like everything else from Pour 15. I got a feeling I'll like it. And what I have been working on, actually I did work on it some Thursday. I was starting to get my weld seams for this patch panel on the floor, if you remember me doing that last summer. Starting to get those weld seams smoothed out, get some skin on them. Yeah, we got some Bondo on our bed floor, but that's the way it's going to have to be. But like I said, it's going to be covered with a tough bed liner, and if I haul anything in here that could really damage the surface of this bed, I do have a plastic bed liner I can throw over top of it temporarily. I probably won't use it all the time, but I just want this to look good. And whenever I haul anything heavy, I will do what I got to do to protect the bed. But what I was doing, trying to fix, as you can see, here's the seam. This is the seam where the actual bed floor welds to this whole entire panel. It's like that on both sides. Panel goes from here all the way to here, and they're both panels are flanged at the bottom. They're spot welded horizontally together. They're supposed to be level. I don't know if the factory screwed up or they hauled something extremely heavy in this bed, or it might have been this bed took a hit. Remember the huge dent I pulled out of it? But this, it wasn't necessarily, didn't look buckled. Maybe it was buckled some, but this from about here, well, from about here all the way up, this floor was like a 1/4 inch higher, maybe even as high as 3/8 right in here, higher than this side. It just didn't look right. I didn't want to leave it that way, so I started beating on it so I wouldn't have to use so much body filler to make it look right. And I realized one thing that I'm going to have to do, I got to do some welding. See that right there? See how it's loose? It's not supposed to be that way. It should be spot welded together. I can't weld it from the back side. It's welded here and here. I can't weld it from the back side because there's a brace that goes from there. This is the edge of the flange. You see those little spot welds there. The other edge of the flange goes to the front of the bed, right about here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have to drill a hole here and here, and then I'm going to weld it to my brace so that this isn't like that. And that's what was making it so difficult for me to beat flat. I was trying to beat this down, and I was getting underneath with a piece I used as a dolly, and I was getting in this groove and trying to beat it up, and I improved it some, but it just kept It was just being really stubborn. I didn't know why. It just wasn't working with me like I wanted it to, and I realized it's because this is not welded. So I'm going to weld that up, and I have a low spot here from there to there. You can see it with a straight edge. That's another little tip to show you. If you're not sure how your body works turning out, use a straight edge on the flat surfaces. And you can see a big gap right about my thumb is. Hopefully you can see it on camera. So yeah, we're going to have to beat that back up once I get that welded. Then we'll cover it with body filler because it's dinged up from years of use and my beating on it. And then hopefully by tonight I'll have that ready to sand in the morning. Get some body filler spread over it. But that's my next step to do. Instead of worrying about every single dent in this bed, which I am eventually going to try to fix, I'm going to try to find them all. I want to get this fixed and these seams where I put my patch panels in. Remember, I put the big patch panel all the way around here. And there's a small one we made with the original bed metal. If you remember, I had to redo that. So, yeah, we got to do that. And once I do that and get that the way I want it, I just don't want to take on too many dents at once because there's a lot of dents. I will be having to find a lot of dents like this. Big ones like that, I'll try to get under there, which that one I can't. It's under a brace. See the welds there and there for the brace. But any dents that I can beat out, major ones, I will. But we'll just have to go through, find them all, mark them, and come back with some body filler and start doing it. Do 3 or 4 small dents at a time until I get them all. It's going to be very time consuming and a pain in the butt, but I want it to look right, so I'm going to do it. Call it a waste of time if you want, but I did an 85 Ford this way once, and the bed was actually painted and it looked like a brand new truck bed. So let's see if I can still do it. It's been a long time since I've done body work like that. And after I do all that, we can start a body work on the bed. And one more thing before I get to work, I bought me a DA finally. Something I should have had when I did all of this, which is covered up. For those of you who have seen all the videos on this project, know what all I've done to the actual truck. It's ready for final sanding and painting. The doors, I got a few little spot putty places to fix, and I'm going to re-primer it from there down on both of them. But anyway, on the DA, oh, I wish I'd have bought that a long time ago. I tried it out Friday night. I just come out here I was really tired. I have to get up super early to go to work, so I was tired Friday night. I had to do some other stuff too. But I just picked the DA up on the way home from work, and I wanted to try it out for a few minutes, so I came out here just to get it out of the package and stick a pad on it, and I just hit this area right here. In a matter of minutes, I had almost all the clear off of it. Right there is the clear that I did not get, but from there to there is just a few minutes. So I think I can move a lot quicker with getting old paint ready to start doing body work on, an old painted surface. But enough jabbering. Try to get back to work, and I'm going to try to start being frequent with these Power Stroke videos and try to stay busy on it. The Torino's in good shape. It sits over there where I can drive it and enjoy it. There's some things I really still want to do to it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to hold off. I got it to where I can drive it and enjoy it. We need to stick with this truck, get it done, one thing at a time. Just get it together, get it done, and hopefully get that black car out of that trailer and go racing. Alright, for those of you who have been waiting so long, thank you for your patience. And thanks for watching and commenting on all my other videos on this project. And hopefully there'll be a lot more interesting and helpful and maybe a few things to laugh at videos to come. So, okay, let's get to work. Alright, here's what we've done. I've drilled 2 1/4-inch holes, one here and one here. Hopefully you can see that. And I didn't drill all the way through the brace, I just drilled through this panel and this panel here, 2 separate panels like I told you before. And what I'm going to try to attempt to do, is get my welding wire down in that hole, get it to stick to the brace, then hopefully fill it in build it up and fill it in, and then hopefully what will happen is this panel will be welded to the brace here where it's all flimsy. Then I'll be able to beat this edge down here. I had to do quite a bit of beating. I had to take a chisel and beat that flange in that away. It's all lifted up, kind of messed up. So hopefully this will make it to where I can beat everything else back to where it should be, flat, as flat as I can get it, and get it to where I can do some body work to it. Yeah, I'm going to stick that wire. Actually, I'm running the wire out farther away from the tip. That's hot, away from the tip than I normally would. I just want that wire to touch that brace. I'm going to get it arc. And I think we got it to weld to the brace. Probably stand to turn my welder settings down a little bit. They don't look too bad. Now, before I finish filling, I marked a little bit of my panel, but it's going to happen. Now we're going to do the other hole, hopefully, to get it to stick to the brace. Looks like it is. Now we got the bead actually connecting the panel to the brace. We just take our time, keep tacking it, let it cool down a little bit, and then we fill in the hole before I fill the rest of that other hole in. So I got this aluminum fan blade here. Check my body work. Got a little bit warm there. And now hopefully we can beat this lid down. Yeah, and it's connected. You can tell because you can beat that down there and it'll stay there. It don't just bounce up and down anymore. And it's not going to be absolutely perfect, but it's going to be a lot better than it was. And, oh yeah, it's connected now. It's not all flimsy. So we'll go ahead and fill in that hole. Just got to take it down. Just tack it, let it cool, tack it, let it cool. Now, there we go. And I should be able to beat this part here flat now, and it's still, he said it's still lower here. I think it could have been the factory that messed up. That's why it's like that. But at least now we can get this level, and we will still have to use body filler to make it look right. But we knew we was going to do that anyway. But that's going to help the situation out a lot better, I think. This piece of aluminum came in handy. It's good to hang on to your strap. But anyway. Next thing we're going to be doing, I'm going to go ahead and grind that down, and then I'm going to beat this up flat, be able to get under there and hopefully get that looking right again. And then, of course, this is a seam. I will have to take me a cut-off wheel from my die grinder maybe and get all that old sealer out there as much as I can. And I'll have to run a new bead of sealer through there. Probably should do that before do any body filling. I don't know. Okay. Just want to show that part of it. Let's try to beat this thing flat next. Okay, we did a little more welding. I went ahead and I had a wide gap here. I went ahead and filled it in. I couldn't really get inside of there to work that flange back where it should be, so I just filled in the wide gap with weld and ground it back down with my die grinder with a cutoff wheel, which is laying over here on the bench. I pretty much just kind of put a little groove back in it, made it a lot more solid, and made a big improvement by beating the low area up. As you can see, it's a lot more level than it was. Not perfect, but we can fix that. And I wish I'd have showed you before I did it, but it was also this valley down in here. This was a little low, and you could see where the brace had been actually pushed up, probably from a lot of weight at one time. Like I said, hauling wood or gravel will do that to an old truck bed. If you work it hard with a lot of weight, it'll push the braces up into the bed. Or actually, it probably doesn't really push the braces up. It's the weight. See, like there's a brace here and here. The weight right here will push the bed down. And over here, it's not too bad over towards the middle. Who knows what had happened here. But instead of pushing this valley up, I just took my hammer, and you can see a line right there. There's a little bit right there, and I just kind of popped it like that. And then just by doing that, it just seemed to take the huge gap underneath my straight edge out of it. It won't be perfectly straight, but it kind of, sometimes you just got to fool people's eye when you do body work. You just kind of got to blend stuff in. If the area is too wide to get perfectly flat, you can do things to make it appear a lot better than it is. If that makes any sense. If you ever start messing with body work like this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you got to be creative and figure out ways to fool the eye and kind of make it appear flatter than it really is. But actually that is pretty flat. So, and I decided not to cover it up with body filler tonight. Before I do any more body work or apply any more body filler, I'm going to take my die grinder tomorrow morning, and I'm going to get as much of this old sealer out of here that I can and put in my new sealer. And I'll show you how I go about doing that. And what I'll do is I'll take masking tape and run mesh tape all the way down the seam, all the way across the bed, and that way I won't be getting any sealer on any areas that I don't want. Pretty much like you would do if you was caulking a bathtub seam. But the reason I want to do that first, I don't want body filler in these gaps because that seam sealer is in there for a reason. That is to protect that weld seam from moisture where the metal welds, where the two flanges weld together from the bottom side. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll grab the camera off the tripod and I'll show you the flange I'm talking about. I think I still got my light on back here. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way so that I can get under here. And my camera is focused in there. Now I got to focus back out. What I'm talking about is this flange right here. You see those spot welds on that, like right there. Yeah, and when that seam up top, you need that seam sealer in there to keep water from getting down in here in between these two pieces of metal and causing it to rot out. And you don't want Bondo in there. You don't want moisture getting up in that Bondo. You don't want to fill that seam up with Bondo. A lot of people do that. It's not a good thing to do because Bondo does not deal well with moisture. So you want the seam sealer in here first, and then you put Bondo on top of the seam sealer if you want, but like I said, you just don't want Bondo down in that gap. And how many times am I going to say Bondo in this video? But anyway, I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning to grind that out, and then we'll tape it off and run a seam sealer, and then we'll start spreading some body filler hopefully. And hopefully it'll set up in time for me to do some sanding. And we'll call that a video for this weekend. Alright, until tomorrow morning. Okay, now it's Sunday morning. I've gotten out here and went ahead and used my die grinder with a cutoff wheel. And to get the corners, I used this little Dremel bit right here to get all my old sealer out. Of course, I didn't get it all completely out. There's still some old down in there, but I just got the stuff that had raised up and cracked and was coming out. And I'm going to show you how to put that in without making too much of a mess. Hopefully, we'll see how it works out. But what I do is, I've already done to the other side, which you can't see on the camera right now. But what I do is, excuse me, here's my seam right here. And I'm going to take some masking tape and I'm going to tape this seam off on both sides, right at the edge where I don't want to get any sealer. You could smear it in there and clean it off, but peeling the tape off is a lot easier than cleaning sticky sealer off. Plus you'll kind of ruin your bead. So just tape all the way down like this, right on that edge. And of course I'm already out of view of the camera now, but just going all the way to the end of the seam or joint, whatever you want to call it. And once I get that taped, already got that down to the corner. Just go to the other side, tape it up. Just to the edge of that, just kind of take it away. Now right here, since I got such wide tape, I'm going to stop right here because it's hard to get that wide tape in a narrow area right there. And I have some thinner tape, and you're probably wondering, why don't you just use thin tape all the way across instead of switching rows? Because I have 4 or 5 excuse me, I keep coughing. I have 4 or 5 rows of this tape, and this is all I have left of the thin stuff. I need to go get it. So, I'm just using this where I need it. Because I don't feel like going to the store today. Actually, I don't really feel like going anywhere today. I just want to do a little bit out here and then relax for the rest of my Sunday. Okay, let me move this camera down here. Actually, I'm going to finish taping this to the joint, then I'm going to readjust my camera and I'm going to show you a little something else. Okay, we got that seam taped all the way down, and as you can see, we are at the rear of the bed now. You also have a seam right here, and then it goes that way, and then it goes all the way across the back right there. And I'm going to show you a little something else on taping off something like that. So you can see I've crossed over my seam. Just take a good sharp knife and cut that off flush. There's supposed to be a sharp knife. There we go. Just like that. And to get that corner, because it's hard to always just overlap the tape and then cut it, because it's hard to tear it off square. It usually tears off like that. You already know that. And it just makes it easier to go back and cut it off with a knife like I just did. And I got a tape from there. Right there. And since I've already got line tape there, I'll just cut it way back here. Just like that right there. I'll go on the other side. And when I go to spreading my seam sealer, I'm going to show you how to do that on this little short area. It'll be easier to film, easier for you to see, be up close, and we don't want to film the whole process all the way around the bed. But yeah, that'll be good enough for seeing. And I have one little spot to tape off up here. See a little bit. The tape in the middle of my seam I need to cut out. There we go. Now, also on these truck beds, you also have some seam sealer. Let me unfocus this camera here. Unzoom it rather. Also have a seam sealer right here. If that's bad, go ahead and redo it. Mine is not that bad. It's not cracked, not falling out. The reason I redid this because it was cracked and falling out, and I didn't want to fill it with Bondo, of course, and it would look kind of tacky on top of everything else if it turns out like I want it to have cracked, you know, just have a cracked seam sealer in that joint like that. But let me get my sealer out and everything I need, and I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, I think I got everything I need just to show you how to do a nice clean seam. Hopefully it will turn out good. If it don't, I'll just redo it again and you won't get to see this part of the video. We'll cheat. Anyway, before you start, have you some clean rags on hand, some acetone or lacquer thinner, some kind of a oil-free solvent that will, in case you make a mess, you can clean your sealer off really fast. And what I always do is have one rag soaked in it already. I kind of got that already. Not a good thing. I don't think it'll hurt anything. And here is the seam sealer I'm using. It is, got it upside down, heavy drip check sealer. This always works pretty good. It's for seams when you put body panels on. It just seals keeps the water from getting in between the seals. And it's got a nice little snout on it so you can put a nice clean bead there. And I have some plastic spoons. And all I do is just start squirting it in my seam. Use a little bit just so you don't make so much of a mess. Fill that in. Try to use as little as possible, but then you also want to have enough to fill your seam in. Just like that. I'm going to go just to there for now. And then here's what the spoon is for. What you do is, you can use your finger, but I like this better because you don't get any of this stuff on you. Don't have to clean it off your fingers later. And take one of your rags, clean your spoon off for every seam. We'll get that smoothed down pretty decent, I guess. And you just take your tape off. See how it looks. And this works good on bathtubs too, because I've done it before. And there you go, you got a nice clean straight bead. And I also need, I see a little spot that I missed there. Alright. See if we can't spread it without getting it on the surface I've already untaped. Looks like we're going to. Didn't make too much of a mess. And that's a fairly clean seam right in there. It needs a little bit of touching up, but you know, a lot of times I've done it before too. I've seen people just squirt it in there with no tape and then try to clean it off, but I like this better because it's easier to clean it off. You don't make a mess. It's a pretty nice smooth bead, and like I said, it works great on bathtubs too. So you get a little bit of home improvement education here too. And always have a rag. Whenever you squeeze it out of your tube, it tends to seep out when you set it down. Always have a rag to lay it on top of so you don't get your sealer on something that you don't want. Now I just want to show that part of it. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of it. I'm not going to film it all. It's just going to be a little bit too time consuming. And show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, the seam's sealed up and finished, and it turned out pretty good. Now, a few little imperfections like that. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but another little tip on what I just told you with sealing a seam like that and using the tape is if your sealer tacks up kind of quick like this did, take your tape off immediately. Don't try to do the whole thing and then untape it, because where you started at will be too tacky, and here's what will happen. It's not really that big of a deal to me, but here's what it will try to do to you. If you can see that uneven line there. If it starts to get tacky and set up, see like right there how my tape line isn't straight? Well, if it starts to get tacky before you remove the tape, that's what will happen. Some of the sealer will pull off of the tape and stay with it instead of having that clean tape line like we had earlier when I did that little short bead. That's why the edge of this bead turned out better, is because I did it while your sealer was still wet. So don't wait till your sealer dries. As you can see, this part of it turned out pretty good. There's another little imperfection there. It's really no big deal. Just if you're looking to make it look as clean as you can, that's just a little tip to throw at you. For this, it's not really going to matter. By the time the bodywork's done and I get this thing covered in my spray-on bed liner, not going to matter. The important thing is that it's sealed up, and we won't be getting any Bondo down in there that moisture may get to and cause it to bubble out. But that's pretty much all I can do to this today, and the reason being is that while that's still tacky, I don't want to make any dust that'll stick to it. So I won't be able to do any sanding, no Bondo spreading. I don't want to get up in there and accidentally step on it, which is easy to do. So I'm going to call it done for the day. Give this a day or two to set up. Hopefully by tomorrow after work it'll be set up and I can start spreading some body filler and fixing some dents. So I'm going to call this a video. Like I said, hopefully I can start this Power Stroke series back up and try to get a video, crank a video out at least every other week. But I want to stay busy on this truck, whether I'm making videos on it or not, and get this thing ready to paint by warm weather. So I guess that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And yeah, see you later.